Grammy-winning rapper Cardi B recently pled guilty to an assault charge in New York. Let's talk about the details. My name is Jamahl Kersey. I'm the principal attorney at Kersey Law, a boutique criminal defense firm in San Diego, California. And in this video, we're talking about Cardi B recently pleading guilty to third-degree assault and second-degree reckless endangerment. She was ultimately sentenced to 15 days of community service. As far as how this whole thing got started, basically it was a beef between Cardi B and two sisters. Now, Cardi B believed one of the sisters was sleeping with her husband, rapper Offset, and that's what led to this physical altercation. So basically there were two separate incidents. Both happened at this club that these sisters worked at. So the girl that Cardi believed was sleeping with Offset was a bartender at this club. And basically at this first incident, Cardi B and her crew attacked this girl, punching her, pulling her hair, and slamming her head against the bar. They came back 2 weeks later and attacked the sister, and they threw alcohol, threw bottles at her, and threw a hookah pipe at her. And one of the allegations was that Cardi B had actually offered a friend via IG $5,000 to help her carry out this attack. I think one of the major issues that comes up here is the justification for Cardi B doing what she did. Many people would think if this girl slept with Cardi B's man, that she would absolutely be justified in rolling up and, beating the shit out of her, which apparently happened. But the reality is, as far as a legal justification, it's not. She was not legally justified in attacking this girl. And so I imagine that one of the conversations that Cardi B would have had with her lawyers was about this whole idea of being justified, just carrying this thing out to its end if this case were to have gone to trial, because this was on the eve of going to trial. Apparently they got this deal done just the day before they were supposed to go to trial. But one of the things that Cardi B would have had to be made known is that the jury's not going to get an opportunity to hear why she did what she did. Many people in this situation would want to have their opportunity to say their piece in terms of why they did what they did, right? So, she was sleeping with my husband, so that's why, I flipped out and decided to beat her up. But no, a jury would not be able to hear that information because it's irrelevant, right? The ultimate issue for the jury to decide in this case was, number one, was this girl attacked? And number two, did Cardi B do it? The reason why she did what she did has nothing to do with the ultimate issue that would be in front of the jury. And so any information that would want to be put in front of the jury as far as her reasoning ultimately would be irrelevant and be excluded. But that does lead to another important conversation that would be context. So even though this information would not be in front of a jury, in terms of the discussions between the DA and the defense attorneys, that's absolutely something that the defense attorneys would bring up in terms of why she did what she did. Even though it doesn't rise to a legal justification, it provides context. In other words, Cardi B didn't just decide one day to, out of nowhere, attack these girls, right? There was a reason behind it. And again, even though it's not a legal justification, in terms of a contextual argument, it does make sense because, Cardi B is married to Offset. This is a holy matrimony that, was threatened by this outside party. There's a lot of emotions involved in this situation. Cardi B was unfortunately cheated on, probably felt disrespected, and basically wanted to get revenge. And again, it's not legally justified, but it absolutely, in terms of context, really helps in terms of why she did what she did, and perhaps also being able to provide information as to why something like this would not happen again, right? So if she's able to do anger management, get therapy, do whatever she needs to do in order to be able to demonstrate to the district attorney and the judge that something like this just is not going to happen again. And so at sentencing, Cardi B definitely showed a lot of growth. She showed a lot of remorse, and that is really important, right? A judge definitely wants to see that a person is accepting responsibility, they're showing remorse for their actions, and they're sufficiently convincing them that something like this is not going to happen again. And when the opposite happens, when you have people get up in front of the judge and, they're arrogant, or you can see in their face that they clearly haven't learned their lesson. I've seen judges hammer people in that situation and tack on an additional 30, 60, 90 days to their sentence just for not taking the process seriously And so Cardi B, did the opposite. She did show remorse. She did show that she regrets her actions and that something like this isn't going to happen again. And she was saying, hey, I got to do this for my kids, right? I got to be an example for my kids. How am I going to try and teach them that they need to accept responsibility for their actions if I haven't done it myself? And I can definitely, applaud and respect that. And one of the other things that she mentioned was that what this situation was, again, this was back in 2018. She said, that's not me now. Right? We're in 2022 now. That's 4 years. And a person can make so much change in the course of 4 years. Hey, someone can make a lot of change in 6 months or 12 months, right? Let alone 4 years. And so she's saying, hey, the person that did these things, was involved in this mess, is not me today. And apparently she was able to convince the DA and the judge of that. And that's really important too. I imagine that they had some sort of evidence and documentation to provide to the DA and the court to show, how she's evolved as a person. Again, being able to demonstrate that something like this isn't going to happen again. But I think one of the other practical reasons, because at the end of the day, this 15 days of community service, that sentence is pretty light. I don't know if she was charged any sort of fine, but the 15 days is relatively light. And I think probably one of the factors that would have been at play was the fact that, again, this was a day out from going to trial, right? And I think one of the issues would have been the victims in this case ultimately having to testify. And they probably weren't that excited about having to testify against Cardi B, who is one of the most popular artists in the United States, if not the world. And so there just would have been a lot of pressure that would have come along with that. Again, we mentioned that the issue about the infidelity probably would not have come up in front of the jury. But either way, just having to be in court and have to point at Cardi B and say, yes, that's the woman who attacked me, who assaulted me. That's just, heat that they probably would not have wanted to have to deal with. And so that probably would have been a strong motivator for the DA to reach some sort of agreement with the defense. So the interesting thing about this being on the verge of going to trial is I'm not exactly sure what the defense would have been. I assume that there was probably some sort of security tape or surveillance of the attack, if not witnesses who would have seen this thing go down. At the end of the day, it's not like she would have been able to argue that it wasn't her, right? If you're Cardi B in a club, you're going to attract attention. People are going to know who you are. So it would have been interesting to find out, what the defense strategy would have been going into trial. But at the end of the day, I'm glad they got a deal done. Cardi B only got 15 days of community service, so her defense counsel did a great job. And hopefully, she's not ever in a criminal courtroom again. She's got a lot going on. Cardi B is worth $40 million. And so, she's a huge asset to her community, to her family, and really just has no business being caught up in, stupid stuff like this. So again, hopefully this is her last time in a criminal courtroom. Well, that's it for this story. If you got something out of this, please show me some love. Hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications so you never miss a new video when it drops. As always, I want to thank you so much for watching. Until next time, peace.